Yo, man. Peace, peace, peace. I am Phillip Roundtree, and you are tuned into the September 8th edition of Rhetorically Speaking. So, listen, I am entering, I think, like week 3 or 4 of me being banned on Facebook, and they making it difficult for me to get this thing off, man. So, if you know somebody in the Facebook higher ups, if you know Mark Zuckerberg, I think that's the only one that any of us know or any of us care about. You tell him to shout me a holler. I saw Lil Boosie. He hit up Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know if Mark responded, but this is ridiculous. I understand wholeheartedly how Lil Boosie with the wipe down feels about being banned off Instagram, because this Facebook ban is killing me, Smalls. But nonetheless, we are here and we gonna get right to it, man. So first and foremost, because the topics that I'm talking about tonight, man, they kind of heavy. So let me get this out the way, right? Let's get the donations. Right? Hashtag Quantify LLC. Feel free to support donation. I am in a doctoral donation program. It's getting real out here. I gotta pay tuition straight out of the pocket. So gifts. I want to go to Red Lobster.
More gifts.
I want to go to Wawa.
More gifts.
I am accepting all of that. So we're going to get right to it. Shouts to the people who are watching on Facebook Live. Props to the people who are watching on YouTube Live who endured that. It felt like 3 or 4 minutes of me trying to get this ish situated. Definitely appreciate you. Shouts to the people who are watching on IG. As always, head on over to YouTube and hit the subscribe button, because I'd appreciate it. Straight like that. So this first conversation we're going to get into, man, it has to deal with the Rochester Police Department. A bunch of clowns. If you aren't familiar with the Rochester Police Department, they are under heavy scrutiny because back in March, they murdered via asphyxiation Daniel Prude, right? The footage came to light within the last few weeks, which has seen again, the same civil unrest that we've seen across the country. We now see it in Rochester, New York. I'm gonna put the image up, and I really don't want to, but I think it's important that the visual. When we hear about something, right? We can imagine it, even though some of our imagination has been diluted for various reasons. But it's something about the power of imagery that really invokes emotion, right? So we could have read about George Floyd, and a lot of people might have just turned the page. But it was something about seeing the knee on his neck for 8 minutes and some odd seconds that really pulled at the heartstrings and at the humanity of people around the world. And we saw the consequences of that in conjunction with COVID, because I give COVID part of the credit for why we are going about this change and this progress, albeit extremely slow change and progress, but COVID has played a huge part. So I'm gonna put the picture up. And so back in March, Daniel Prude was asphyxiated after being called to the scene for a wellness check by Daniel Prude's brother. Subsequently, he was under the influence of PCP, which we know can have mind-altering effects. I'll be honest, when I first heard about the story about the bag being put over his head, because he was spitting in the beginning of COVID, and this when we had zero information about COVID. We just knew, I don't want to say zero information, but again, we were extremely scared about the consequences of COVID. We should still be scared about the consequences of COVID, but y'all mofos are out here living y'all best life, right? Y'all said, F a quarantine, F COVID. I'm out here in these streets. I'm not going to even pretend to have a mask on or a mask around my neck. I'm out here. I hope you don't die. If you do, it's consequences of the decisions that we make. That's all I got to say about that. And so with that, with his whatever his behaviors were during that time, he was handcuffed, he was still spitting. The lack of information we had about COVID at the time, they put a spit bag, which is customary for not only police, but we see it in across the judicial system. We see it in courtrooms when individuals are out of line and they're acting in a quote unquote aggressive manner. I mean, pre-COVID, yeah, spit is just spit. Should you have to endure it? No. Should you be putting a bag over somebody's head? Probably not. But when we talk about this idea of COVID and first responders, that's a tough one. And I think that's a conversation that a lot of people aren't necessarily wanting to have. Now, should he have died as a result? No, right? Because it wasn't just the asphyxiation aspect of related to the bag, but it was also, again, this whole kneeling thing that cops love to do, and it seems to be in every police officer's handbook. And then denying him medical attention, right? They just see him throwing up. It's like, oh man, you throwing up, huh, boss? Right? like again, inhumane treatment. Full disclosure, I used to work in a crisis center, and listen, somebody on PCP, bruh, you don't really want to interact with them, right? You don't, and I think the most high that I didn't have to interact with them in that capacity, because why? We had security, we had police who would come in and subdue them. What the subduing look like? The same thing that took place. Listen, you might get roughed up in the event of trying to put handcuffs on you because your behaviors are dangerous. We're not going to put a bag over your head. What we're going to do is we're going to snow you. We're going to put you to sleep. And that's what the psychiatrist, the medical professional will do. We will give you some medication. It's Halidol mixed with something else. However, you will be knocked out. And then you will either be put in restraints, or you will be in a room by yourself, or you will just be put in a room by yourself. Again, we weren't necessarily using that bag, but if you have no other recourse, again, it's a difficult one, man. It's a difficult. If it wasn't COVID, I could say 100%. Listen, don't put a bag over. However, again, it feels uncomfortable to say. But if you're saying somebody is spitting at me and the only recourse is to put the bag over their head, what kind of bag? Maybe you need some type of mouth guard. Right, when we talk about being solution focused, so maybe you might need a mouth guard that you can put over the individual where still they're able to breathe through their nose. Again, this is problem solving right here in the midst of thinking about it, because again, we don't want anybody to die, whether it's the person who being placed in restraints, or the police officers who are out here doing this particular job in this specific situation. So subsequently he died. Listen, the whole police force said F it, not the whole police force, but the whole command staff said F it, we out. We not playing this game with y'all. So, and this is Police Chief LaRon Singletary, a brother. Again, I see LaRon, I'm like, damn, brother, like, this is, you a part of this? I'm always taken aback when I see black folk who join the police force. Again, I know some cool people who are police officers, both black and white, but especially the black ones, because it's like, you're going into this good old boys club who for centuries has reigned terror on communities of color dating back to slavery. And so with that, it's kind of problematic, right? It's kind of problematic because it seems conflicting. Again, but when you got to make a living, who am I to say what you should or should not do? Hopefully you do it with some grace, with some integrity, because you are dealing with humanity in a different, and having a different relationship with individuals. So LaRon Singletary, after 20 years on the force, has tendered his resignation. He is retiring. So he does get his benefits and the command staff. He says that, listen, those who have been criticizing him are seeking to destroy his character and his integrity. No, my brother. Destroying the character and integrity of who it is and what it is that you represent. Right? You represent something bigger than yourself. Again, I just got finished talking briefly about the history of the police, especially here in America. And so, my brother, listen, it's not necessarily you, although we are critical of you and your handling of this, but this is far bigger than you. This is about this institution who has free reign and is able to wield their power and their authority any way that they see fit. They aren't extensions of the community, even though we're paying their salaries, right? They don't view it as that. They aren't public servants. No, they're wards of the state and a product of the state. And so they are acting as such. And so with that, again, it's not necessarily him, but it's what he represents. And so, but I don't care how he takes it. Also, he says that the mischaracterization and politicization. Listen, if you're getting a doctoral degree, we just gonna ride with it. Politicization. All right. Of the actions that I took after being informed of Mr. Prue's death is not based on facts and is not what I stand for. Again, all we see is what we see on the video, right? And the video is pretty damning. And what we also see is what the coroner said as to how he died. He died because of asphyxiation, right? And there was some other things there, but again, he wouldn't be asphyxiated if he didn't have this bag over his head, right? He may still be alive today. I want to get this cop off of here. I want to put a picture of Daniel Prude up because this is the individual who we need to remember. Who this was a black man. Yes, he might have had an addiction. He might have engaged in PCP that night. But does that mean he deserved to die? And I will always say that's an emphatic hell no. I know how we view drug addicts in this country. We view drug addicts the same. We judge fat people, right, the same. Overweight people, obese people, because I know some people don't like using the term fat being used, but hey, it's what it is, right? But I recognize how America views these individuals, and it's not in a positive light, right? We view it as a inability to self-regulate one's behavior, ignoring the factors that influences one to gain weight, right? The societal issues, the systemic issues, and the personal issues. The same goes with those who are addicted to drugs or who utilize drugs. So Mayor Lovely Warren, such an interesting name, said that she did not ask the command staff to resign. However, she would not stop them. Right? She informed the city council that this was their decision. She didn't influence in either way. Again, how do I feel about it? Listen, see y'all, right? But unfortunately, what's going to happen is they're just going to move other people up, right? They're going to, as police officers who have been on the waiting list, to move up to a sergeant, to a lieutenant, to a captain, to a chief. And now this will be their opportunity. Hopefully they are individuals with some sort of integrity, right? Who understands and can see the humanity in somebody, even though they may be on PCP, right? So that's what we're talking about. So God bless the dead, Daniel Prude, and peace out, LaRon Singletary. And just like that, we on to the next conversation. And this one hurts my soul, man. This one hurts my soul. I don't know if anybody in the chat, because I can't even necessarily view it. If you are, that's a beautiful thing. If you are not, then that's unfortunate. We're gonna get this figured out some way, somehow, man. Because I don't even think people can see it on my joint. But all right, it is what it is. So So we getting into something that hurts my heart, man. Joe Budden has been accused of domestic violence again. And again. And again. Joe Budden is one of my favorite rappers. Why? Because he has this level of introspection when it comes to his mental health and what have you. But listen, man, what do they say about smoke and fire, or if it walks like a pig, talk like something like it's a pig, or it's a rabbit, something like that. But when it comes to Joe, there's been consistently this chatter and these accusations and allegations of him being abusive in not one relationship, which I'll talk about with Sin Santana, not two relationships when we talk about Tahiri, who just last week said that he was physically abusive. That wasn't the first time. Maybe the details was kind of sketchy, but that wasn't the first time Tahiri has said that. Not Esther Baxter, who also said that he was physically abusive. Again, not one, not two, maybe not even three. Right? It could very well be more who haven't said anything about it. But again, this continues to follow him, and it has followed him for going on 15 some odd years. And so the latest being Sin Santana, who accused Joe of getting physical with her in a leaked conversation. And so this conversation has been circulating. It's about 8 minutes long. Supposedly it's from when right after they broke up, prior to the filming of Love and Hip Hop. And some people may be wondering, why am I having this conversation about Joe Budden? It might be salacious. Yeah, it's salacious. Yes, it's gossipy. But again, we're talking about domestic violence. We're talking about accusations of domestic violence. I see somebody who says they sound like they tried to set him up this time. Who cares if they tried to set him up this time if somebody leaked the audio? Again, I'm always concerned when I hear black men who speak to things like this. Sounds like they try to set him up, as opposed to, listen, this isn't the first time he's been accused of domestic violence. This isn't his second time. This isn't the third time. This isn't fourth time, right? He's been arrested on it several times, and he's always denied it. He's always had an excuse for it. So again, is everybody trying to set him up, right? Is everybody trying to set him up? Listen, I wasn't there, I wasn't present, but again, I think critically enough to know that, yes, maybe a leaked audio is a setup, but what does that have to do with the contents of what's being said from some months ago? Right? And so with this, again, they're having this back and forth. She's saying she needs space. He's talking about, and maybe he's saying it facetiously, where, listen, to get this conversation, I might have to stalk you and to try and get in contact with you have a face-to-face conversation. Again, is that healthy? Hell no. Right? Was he saying it in jest? Maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe he was showing, again, sometimes we say things that might be outlandish, that might be inappropriate, just to get a response. Again, that's manipulative. That's emotionally abusive. It doesn't sound like that he was respecting the boundaries that she was trying to put up. But I'm going to fast forward to, because I have a written transcript of what was said. So she said, we are talking. He says, Sin, you know what I mean. Come on, man. Come on, cut the shit. You know what I'm saying. Let's stop. Oh, you mean in person so you can chase me again and drag me? I'm good. Right? Sin, oh shit, I didn't know we was there. I didn't know we was there. Again, that's not a denial from the rip. That's saying, oh shit, I didn't know we were there. I didn't know we was having that conversation. Yo, I felt like I apologized to you for that. That's what it sounds like. Like, yo, you know what was happening. I might have been under the influence, but she said he was. Right? And she says, oh yeah, we're there. Then he says, I dragged you. I laid a hand on you and dragged you where? Where did I drag you, Sin? You must have been drunk still, right? No, I was not drunk. I'm very aware of what was happening, very aware. Then they just continue on. She says, let's not play these games. Let's go back to the baby. Again, very, very problematic conversation, right? Because even if she was attempting to set him up, right, whatever that means, she's not the first person to say that. And so, at what point, if I'm Joe, do I sit back and think about why are all of these women saying this same thing about me? Out of any narrative that they can paint about me, why are they painting this narrative? Am I emotionally abusive? Am I physically abusive? Joe talks about in his songs, again, I've listened to probably 85% of his songs, where he talks about sitting on, I believe it might have been Esther Baxter or Tahiri. He talked about sitting on her, right? He talks about doing emotionally abusive things to women. And so this, again, where there's smoke, there most definitely can be fire. And so I know who he is, and that's why I've always been critical of him. And we start to have this conversation about separating the person from the art. Is that possible? Right? We do it time and time and time again. You really don't want to know about your favorite musician, your favorite athlete, your favorite actor, your favorite president. You really don't want to know the intricacies and the details of their existence, because then we will have this ethical dilemma. And now with Joe Budden, I continue to have this ethical dilemma. But again, I understand who he is. I'm not looking for him to be this moral majority. That's why I don't turn a side eye to those who say, listen, I still listen to R. Kelly. Is it for me? No. Because everybody has this line, right? Everybody has this line of demarcation that once it's crossed, they can't go back. People have it for Kanye. They say they'll listen to his early stuff no matter how problematic it is. We'll still go see a Mark Wahlberg movie even though he was convicted for a racial assault against a black man. Go Google it. We see people out here still supporting Trump, black folk included, despite his all the isms that he exhibits on a daily basis. But also what it has me thinking about is the company that he keeps. And so I listen to his podcast still, even though I wrote a scathing review of it, right? Because it sounds like some of them hate women. Maul, for those of you who are familiar. It sounds like some people are in denial about who they are, Joe, when it comes to allegations such as these, right? And so who holds him accountable? Who holds a grown man accountable? I hear Maul, and again, you might not be familiar with the individuals, but he's somebody who's been friends with him for decades, right? And so he says he doesn't stand for those who abuse women. Well, here you go, your right-hand man. These allegations continue to present themselves. At what point do you say, yo, my man, what's going on? I can't continue to rock with you if you don't get some type of help, right? If you don't seek some type of therapy. And this isn't necessarily just Joe. This is just men in general, especially black and brown men. We have the same conversations about how can you be cool with somebody who doesn't take care of their child, especially if you're somebody who take care of your child, right? Maybe it's this idea, I'll be a role model, I'll be a positive influence in his life. Maybe that's a burden that you desire to have. But at some point, when are you going to distance yourself from them? Because otherwise, you're going to be associated with these criminal acts. And not just legally criminal, but these morally bankrupt acts. And so it's disappointing. It's disappointing for me to hear as somebody who likes his music. But again, it begs the question, can you separate the art form from the actual human being, knowing that the art form is influenced by what the human being thinks and believes, their paradigm or their ideology of the world? I can't answer this question. I think that's when we go to the nuances and the difficulties of what it means to be a human being, because everybody has their own individual ledge. And straight like that, man, we gonna get. I ain't even want to put his face up, because again, man, it ain't even worth it. But we do got some good news. And again, these episodes be hella short, man. Maybe I gotta get back to doing my little interviews. Hit me up if you're interested in being interviewed, rhetorically speaking, at outlook.com. So listen, man, shout out to Kaepernick. I don't necessarily want to shout out EA Sports. Kaepernick is back in Madden. He's the highest rated free agent quarterback on the game right now. So I'm not one who plays Madden. But if I was, I would definitely have Kaepernick on my team. You know, we see, especially these video game companies, people know that I play Call of Duty, and when everything was happening with George Floyd, I believe it's Activision who makes Call of Duty. When I turned on the game, it says, "We stand in solidarity with the black community." Now that that message is no longer there, and we're back to business as usual. And so when we talk about this idea of putting your money where your mouth is, this is putting your money where your mouth is. This is standing in solidarity, even though for the last 3 years you didn't have him on the game. A few years ago, you edited YG's song to where when he referenced Kaepernick, you got it wrong. You got it wrong. And so listen, we all get mea culpas, right? I might not know politicizing. Oh, politicizing. Politicizing, there we go. I got it, right? But I know mea culpa. I told you, I just got out of class, man, so my mind got to get sharpened again. And so, you know, I'm happy for Kaep. Hopefully he gets some type of compensation from this, because he's not retired. So I'm not sure how that works with free agents. We know that the Players Association get a bundle of money from EA Sports so they can have the rights to the players. And so, yeah, man, shout out to them. This about to conclude this edition of Rhetorically Speaking. I'm going to somehow figure out how I could be unblocked, or you'll catch me on the 17th, and shout out to Zakia Waller who lets me use her account, so then I can try to tag myself so everybody can see what the happening is. And so I'm going to replay this tomorrow at 11 a.m. Feel free to tune in. Definitely appreciate you. I'm going to give you some more Umar before we get out of here, man, because listen, it's real.
Let me see if y'all gave me any donations. Let me see. I'm giving y'all all my wisdom, but where the donations at? Last donation to the school was Richard Harris. Somebody better get on their Cash App. Somebody better get on their Cash App. Cash.me/$FDMG school. I better get some donations. I'm about to hang up.
Peace.